Greetings, everyone. Nice to see you here. Walker, you are number one joining us today. Hi. Good morning, Richard, or evening, since you're probably in Amsterdam. Let us know, everyone, where you're joining us from. We love to see that. And let's see. Theme for today. What's today's theme? Let's see. Anne-Marie from Germany. Hello, everyone. Lexi from Boulder. And, of course, the great and powerful state of New Jersey. Good day from Vancouver, from John. Rania from Pakistan. Hey, everyone. So listen, in the world of healing, what is one of the things that we talk about very often? Well, it includes the concept of forgiveness, and yet what does forgiveness have to do with healing? Sometimes we just wonder, what does forgiveness have to do with healing? Like, how did I just do that? Oh, there we go. We forget often that healing, that forgiveness, let's say, that forgiveness is for the person who is doing the forgiving, not so much specifically about the person who is being forgiven. It's an interesting concept because we have to remind ourselves of it. It doesn't come naturally for very many of us. And it's important that we allow ourselves that memory, that recognition, that awareness. I just moved my page somewhere else and I'm moving it back. Here we go. Come back, come back, come back. Okay, well, I'm not sure where I was on it, but it doesn't matter. We're going to wing it a little bit. We have seasons and concepts of forgiveness in the various religions, In church, sometimes they bang themselves on the chest a little bit when they talk about forgiveness. It may come from a Jewish concept because some of our religions of forgiveness, we say, please forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. But what does that have to do with healing? And bringing it up today is important, just as we bring up lots of concepts on various holidays, because today is the beginning of Yom Kippur, which is the day of atonement, to atone for our sins. Sins are such a funny word. It's used so often. The concept of original sin and in Christianity and other places, and sin has taken on this big sinister seeming meaning to it as something awful, when really all it means is that we've missed the mark. So what happens when you're in archery and you miss the mark? You just take a new arrow, reposition, shoot again until you get closer and closer to the bullseye, right? When we forgive, we get to move on. And we can only move on. Let's try it this way. When we move on from here, the only thing we really have to lose is our sorrow. The only thing we have to lose is our sorrow. Kind of interesting, right? Suffering is a choice, and we get to release that. There will be upsets, there will be difficult times, there will be pain in life at times, but suffering is a choice. How does this affect the concept of healing? Kind of interestingly for many of us. How many times have we said, oh, we knew this person would have this problem because he or she was always doing this or thinking this or talking this way. Maybe I've got this problem because inside of me I've been doing this or holding onto my thoughts or not expressing myself or not expressing myself in the nicest way. And we keep cycling through guilt and blame. Lexi Alexandra writes, forgiveness is a reclaiming of my freedom from being bound to the pain of the past. Very good. Very good. We think we're forgiving others, but really within that, we're forgiving ourselves. This is the healing, when we don't take on that I've caused this for myself because I've done X, Y, and Z. Or that person has that health problem because they've been doing X, Y, or Z. I've moved too far away from God. I've got to come back. You can't reunite with God because you've never left each other. You've never left each other. It often reminds me of the story about someone walking along the beach with God and talking. There were two sets of footprints, one theirs, one God's. And then suddenly there was only one set of footprints. And the story says, God, where did you go? And God says, when you were too tired, I carried you. Those were God's footprints. We get very linear. It's hard for us sometimes to take in ownership of a concept. Sometimes we feel guilty if we're practicing healing for others and it doesn't turn out the way we thought that it should. And we wonder what we've done wrong. Should we forgive ourselves for that too? There's nothing that we do that's wrong. And yet it's really all about recognizing and remembering who you are in that beingness. Bring your love out into the world. Not your victimhood. Bring your love out into the world, not your victimhood. Your love is bursting to get out. Someone said something along those lines, and I would love to give credit for who inspired that thought. It's not coming to mind right now. And it's important to give credit for who inspires a thought. It's also important to recognize that we allowed ourselves to be inspired by that thought. Sometimes in healing, we're given permission to go back to that place that has never been violated. When you receive a reconnective healing session or an experience, you're not in thought of what was done wrong and what you need to do right. You disappear from those mind traps. In a sense, you go back to that place that has never been violated. You go back to that place that is you, where your nature is love, it's peace, it's being, it's generosity. And the victim mentality dissolves. It's not about, I have this problem because this happened to me. I have this problem because I'm always doing this. The person I'm facilitating a healing for has that problem because they're always doing that, or that's going on in their relationships. Reconnective healing allows you to return to that place that has never been violated, where your nature is love, being, generosity, and the victimhood mentality disappears. It just disappears. You're in your being. Where you can actually taste, metaphorically, peace. Because your being has never been hurt. There have been hurtful situations. There may have been physical pain. But the beingness that you are has never been hurt. You need not wait for what is viewed here by much of the material world as death to reunite with God. You need only remember that you've never separated. It's a key concept of understanding. Lexi Alexander writes, I believe that healing begins when the energy that was trapped in anger, judgment, and grief can now flow into growth, creativity, and peace. Lovely. Patience, confidence, compassion. These are some of the qualities of our innate being. So, Jillian gave me a poem this morning. Jillian has a beautiful way with poetry and discoveries. McGinnis says, I had 3 reconnective healing sessions from your dad, meaning mine, and he shared so much with me, just as you are today. I'll come back to that poem I want to share with you in a minute. It's funny how dreams come in and out of our cognizant awareness, our memory, our recognition. And Jillian suggested, share that dream about your father. I said, what dream? You had a dream recently about your father. What was it? Something about forgiveness. And I don't know that my thinking mind remembers it fully at the moment, but the basic concept that I do remember is, it was a bit of a rough upbringing at times. he meant well, but he had a violent temper, which, some would call abusive. It wasn't intentionally that. It just, he did the best he could. He came a long way from the way he was raised by his father, and probably the way his father before him was raised, with the belt. I mean, the literal belt. And a lot of anger and control. But anyway, I wasn't raised that way. He was. But in my dream, as much of it as I remember at this moment, I was able to tell him that I forgive him, and I was able to say that I love him. That's not been easy for me. It's easy for me to talk about the concept. It's easy for me to understand it theoretically. It's easy for me to share and discuss this, but it was difficult for me with him growing up. And in that dream, I was able to do it with ease. And to realize that he was really not just saying people to do the best they can with what they have. I mean, that's lovely, but it becomes meaningless when we repeat things over and over again. But that he was really trying to be better, to be the best that he could. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to see this because we're so hurt or angered by the way things have been handled or are being handled in that moment, that we don't allow ourselves to see that maybe that person doesn't mean to do it that way. Maybe that person is intending to be better. Maybe that person has just been taken over by automatic response at that time. Many different things, and we don't want to forgive them because we don't want to give them the satisfaction, is the way our minds think. We've forgotten that, as we learn on Yom Kippur, and as is also taught in various religions and certain concepts, that we're not forgiving the other person, we're really forgiving ourselves. It's very important. Even if it does not make linear sense, as it may not to many people. Anyway, Jillian shared with me this poem to share with you for, as she likes to explain, in poetry, we often find a way to really share our heart, to share our truth. So let me see if there's an author of this. I'm not sure who the author of this poem is, but here it is. Time has been found out, revealed as an empty promise. Pull this thread with me. Unravel the truth. Take my hand and give me yours. We are now one. We are one now. Without your love, I will have no way to whisper. Just as the opposite of silence is not noise, it is simply not silence. Just as the opposite of love is not hate, it is simply not love. a silent whisper of love, has no opposite. When time has collapsed, when time has been collapsed, and now is the end of time, now is the only time, now is the pinhole that reveals the universe. So let's hold hands. In my dream, symbolically, it was me taking the hand of my father, us holding hands. How many times have we held ourselves back from experiencing forgiveness because we were determined that it was more important for us to not give forgiveness. So we held ourselves back from our own. I did that. It felt very satisfying in the moment. I really now wish I hadn't. So I'll share with you a little bit about that. As I said, it was an emotionally strained relationship. It was difficult with my father. I didn't really love to spend a lot of, almost any, alone time with him. At best, I felt awkward or in anticipation of when the next expression of his anger would be, aimed at me for something. As a child, you don't really know when that's coming. But it can still become the dominant characteristic of a relationship. And I remember one time after I had moved away to go to graduate school that he had called me to tell me that he had been earlier that day in a waiting room at a doctor's office for something. And in that waiting room was the father of someone whose son was very sick or who had died. I don't really recall the details of that. Somehow there was a conversation, a discussion about it, and he learned that, and he called me because he wanted to tell me that he loved me, which was not something that he really shared or expressed frequently. And in that moment of having gone through approximately 25 years with very little that felt to me like love and a lot that felt like abusive anger, I knew that he was waiting to hear those words in return. And the part of me that isn't me, the part of me that was my personality, my ego, my persona, whatever word we want to use for it. I remember thinking to myself, you made me wait 25 years to hear those words. And now you wait another 25 before you hear them from me. Not something I'm very proud of. It felt satisfying at the moment. And it was another 25 years, approximately, before I really wanted to or chose to say that to him. He, much later on at some point, had a heart attack, and the doctors kept him on some kind of medication during the surgery that you're only supposed to be on for a limited amount of time, and they left it on too long. And because of that, he ended up being on dialysis for a number of years. And so when I was home, and in that time when I was back east where we grew up, I would visit and sit there with him, and we would try to talk. We didn't really know how to talk. We never really developed a way to talk. Part of that was the way that I felt treated. Another part that contributed to that was my bullheaded insistence that you'll wait another 25 years. You made me wait this long before you hear those words from me. But I tried. I did. And I did express the words. It felt awkward and forced at times. But I did the best that I could, that I allowed myself to give, the best that I allowed myself to give at that time. And we moved forward. But let me tell you, that satisfaction of not saying it back to him at that moment was far more expensive than I have words for. I didn't come out ahead because of it. I did not come out ahead because of it. Sometimes if we allow ourselves our self-recognition, our self-exploration, may find things that we've been standing on principle about. I wouldn't make that choice today. And it's the same thing if you're facilitating a healing for someone, looking at them saying, of course they've got problems with their throats. All they've talked about was anger. All they've done is repress their emotions. It's a very, Louise Hay had that kind of interpretation of things, which was considered progressive at the time. But I think it's rather like guilting the person who's having the experience, blaming them for their health. It's really not the way to go, not the way to be. And if we buy into that concept, then how much might we be holding on to our own health issues because we feel responsible for them, what we've done and what we haven't done? I don't really believe that that's healing. I really don't. So, as I explored this concept this morning, I found it very beautiful and synchronistic that the same moment Jillian walked out with this poem to share. So, following a little bit of that story, let me share that poem with you just once more. Okay? Time has been found out, revealed as an empty promise. Pull this thread with me and unravel the truth. Take my hand. Give me yours. We are one now. Without your love, I have no way to whisper. And just as the opposite of silence is not noise, it is simply not silence. Just as the opposite of love is not hate, it is simply not love. A silent whisper has no opposite. When time has been collapsed, and now is the end of time, now is the only time. Now is the pinhole that reveals the universe. Let's hold hands. Intimacy is our willingness to be vulnerable. And this is part of the reason I express, suggest, not to do group healings. Don't say, I want to send a healing to this group or that group. One-on-one healing allows for you to unveil your soul to the other person and they to unveil theirs to you. And in that comes the recognition that although we view souls as individual, really they're also like waves in the ocean of beingness. We become one in our being by being willing to share that. The concept of sending the healing to this group or that group, it distances us. Even just the concept of send. It means we're here and someone else is there. And it reinforces the illusion of separation. Do sessions one-on-one. Everyone involved deserves that. Everyone involved deserves that. Renee Sugar writes, how do we punish someone whose remorse is much greater than their misdeed? Ms. Silent Noah writes, if guilt is wisdom, signal in healing, how can we use it as a step forward towards self-forgiveness and wholeness? McGinnis writes, I have tears running down my face. He was so proud of you. There are probably many ways that our parents have been proud of us, and yet how we've experienced or viewed the relationship, it's doesn't always allow us to experience that with intimacy, let's say that. Lexi writes, our soul already knows the way back to wholeness. Dagmar writes, forgiveness, thank you for sharing. Forgiveness takes us off the hook. And thank you for the poem. Actually, the poem was Jillian's contribution. I was the mouth that read it. Where can I find this poem? I'm not really sure. Here's what I would suggest if you're looking for it. Google up the opening lines and it'll come somewhere. The opening line to this poem is, time has been found out. Okay? Time has been found out. The second line is revealed as an empty promise. I would start with that. Google up, time has been found out, revealed as an empty promise. I'm pretty sure that poem will come up. If you have difficulty finding it, we can search for it. Okay? You know what? I might even be able to do that quickly here. Time has been found out, revealed, come on, as an empty promise. Let's see. I guess you might want to go to ChatGPT and look for it later. Because right now it is simply, all I'm bringing up now is an understanding of the metaphor. But it's there. It's here. You know, it sort of reminds me of the understanding that when the walls of a room or a house come down. It might be the end of that apparently separate space. But the space itself hasn't changed. The space itself has not ever been separate. What we view as separateness is really just like a little bend, separate distress, never born nor died. The separate self, each new energy, healing technique being different than the next, but yet each healing is new for the first time. Soul Art Affirmation says, my parents never said that they loved me. Svalbard 333 says, forgiveness is always the past or future, never the now. So the personal little is relived of the burden. It's never for the other. It's always for our little self, right? Fran, I'm reading what you wrote. I'm not sure who or what you're talking about. If you have a reason or detail you want to share with me, please feel free. Okay? Regret is also past or future. Svalbard reminds us. So love and let love. I feel forgiveness is the balm for the small self that carries burdens. In the now, where the true self lives, forgiveness dissolves into pure beingness. Wonderful. Wonderful, Lexi. Thank you. We talk about some of these things in the Solomon study group. Join us for that if you'd like. It starts in about 26 minutes. It's on Zoom. There's a link to it that Lexi just put in here. You can click on the link for it. It's every Wednesday at 9 a.m. California time, 12 noon New York time. Chicago time, it's 11 a.m. It's 4 o'clock UTC, 6 p.m. CEST. Anyway, come join us there. We'll talk, we'll chat, we'll share more. I appreciate your being here with me while we get to share. Healing is really a revealing of self, a revealing of ourself to ourselves. Chelsea 333 wrote, message me and I can send a copy of the poem. I assume it's the poem. The author was, a friend of Jillian's. Okay. I didn't know that. So again, thank you all. Hopefully we'll see you at Solomon Speaks in about 25 minutes. And we'll see you here again on a Wednesday. A few of these on some Wednesdays while we're traveling over the next month. Some of them may be replays. But we're here. And some of them won't be replays. Some of them will be live. So it'll be a surprise for you. It is a surprise for me. Anyway, lots of love. Bye for now.